Hello and welcome back to another episode of EyeWonder. I wonder what the differences are between monocular vision loss, bitemporal hemianopsia, and homonymous hemianopsia are and how they happen.
So I'm going to be drawing for you the visual pathway, the anterior visual pathway, and anterior means the front. This will be the right eyeball and this will be the left eyeball. And the back of the eye is the retina. The retina can be divided into a temporal retina and a nasal retina. So we'll just put an N here and a T here. You should know that the temporal retina actually looks at the nasal field and the nasal retina is actually looking at the temporal field. Each eyeball has an optic nerve that travels out of the eye nerve to the crossing point, and the crossing point is called the optic chiasm. So this is the nerve, and this crossing point is called the chiasm, and then behind the chiasm is the optic tract. The nasal fiber crosses in the chiasm, so each nasal fiber crosses, and the temporal fiber does not cross. And now Virginia is going to tell you how that translates into visual loss patterns, and in the field it's as the patient is looking, so the right is on the right and the left is on the left.
So if we have a lesion behind the chiasm, so let's say we have a lesion on the right behind the chiasm, then both right fibers will be affected. And if we follow that, then the temporal retina, which is looking into the nasal field, will be affected on the right. So that means that we will have vision loss in the nasal field. And then if we look at the nasal fiber on the left, which looks at the temporal field on the left, then we will have vision loss here. And we call this homonymous hemianopsia. Homo meaning same, hemi meaning half, opsia meaning vision. So we are missing half of our vision. If we have a lesion at the chiasm, then that means that both nasal fields will be, or both nasal fibers will be affected. And remember that it's kind of flipped around. So our nasal retinas are actually in charge of our temporal fields. So when we have that written down, then both temporal fields will be affected. And we can see that if we look at the etymology of bitemporal hemianopsia. Bi meaning two, temporal meaning the temporal fields, hemi meaning half, and not, and opsia see. So two temporal fields, half, no see. And we can see that in bitemporal hemianopsia. And lastly, if we have a lesion in front of the chiasm, then that means that the entire eye will lose its vision. So for example, if we have a lesion on the right in front of the chiasm, then all of our vision will be lost on the right. And that's called monocular vision loss, mono meaning one, ocular meaning your eye.
And so you need to know a little bit about the anatomy of the anterior visual pathway, monocular vision loss for optic nerve, bitemporal hemianopsia for chiasm, and homonymous hemianopsia for tract.